What's going on, my YouTube friends? It is finally time. You guys saw the title of the video. It is time to talk Azir Irelia. Buckle up. It's going to be quite the ride. How's it going, YouTube? It's your boy Optima, back with a brand new episode of our Hot Take Thursday series. This is a series where we provide some hot takes, but definitely try to actually have some good supporting evidence to support those hot takes. And also, sometimes we kind of dissect other people's hot takes if we don't have anything to discuss. But this week for Legends of Runeterra, especially the start of a new expansion, provided us definitely enough things to have our own opinions on. So once again, though, if this is a series that you guys enjoy, if this is a series that you guys want to see more of, any and all support really does help. So leaving likes, comments, all that, you guys know all that stuff really helps. So if you want to do that, it would be extremely appreciated. But nevertheless, thanks for joining me today for Hot Take Thursday. So yes, we got a hot take today, and I'm sure you guys noticed by the thumbnail and the title, and that is that not that Azir Irelia is an amazing deck, not that it's S tier, not that it's 0 tier, not that it's bad, none of that at all. We still have something to see. We still have some things to see from Azir Irelia before I want to say where it's tiered on personally. But the one thing I think that is clear is that the deck is unhealthy. And by unhealthy, that does not mean that I think it's broken. That does not mean that I think it's amazing or too good or anything like that. A deck can be unhealthy without being amazing. That was kind of the way that I felt about Fiora in her previous design. I thought the Fiora Shin deck didn't feel amazing. It still lost at times. It still didn't do its thing, but it was unhealthy. It nullified or it invalidated too many strategies, especially pretty much every aggro strategy. And it felt terrible to play against. And I wouldn't say that Azir Irelia feels terrible to play against, but it is extremely hard for a lot of decks to exist with a deck that can be pushing 9 damage on your attack turn. When you're supposed to be attacking, and then all of a sudden 9 damage is coming your way, that's quite hard for a ton of decks to deal with. And I've noticed it a lot myself. I'm someone who doesn't just prioritize getting on ladder, playing the best decks, and just going hard. I like to really experiment and team build a lot before I really start taking ladder seriously. And I've only been playing for a decent time frame, but nothing too crazy. So I'm still starting to try to figure out my play style, which decks I still like. But I definitely really enjoy building decks. It's definitely one of the highlights of the game for me. And I've noticed that in this new meta with Azir Irelia, just so many concepts just don't work. They cannot work. And then obviously with the popularity of this deck currently, that also is aiding it. But at the end of the day, it is a new deck. So one, of course, people would be playing it. But two, I expect for it to be popular for quite some time. I don't think that's going to tell off anytime super soon, especially as people start to furtherly optimize and find that optimal Azir Irelia lineup. Because I personally believe that there is some unoptimized versions running around and some versions, or not versions, but just the decks also being poorly piloted just due to the sheer amount of volume that it's seeing. It's only inevitable that those would be the case, especially with it being so new. But yeah, I expect the deck to stay pretty popular for quite some time. And for that reason, we're going to be stuck in a meta where so many team building. I love saying team building just because of Pokemon. My Pokemon Pass, I hate when I say it every time. But anyways, because of so deck building is going to feel very restrictive for quite some time, because this deck will continue to exist on ladder at least. I do think it's a lot less strong in a tournament format, just because of the fact that you can ban it, you can kind of tech your whole strategies against it, and it is a deck you can definitely just add some techs in to have a better kind of matchup for, such as like Withering Wells and stuff like that. So it shall be interesting to see where things go with this deck, but I think it is, in my opinion, undeniably unhealthy. Because the thing is, too, this deck also has those matchups that it just loses, such as against a lot of aggro-centric strategies. It struggles with discard aggro, it struggles with Azir Burn, it struggles with some other strategies as well that were aggro-centric, and then like Nightfall. And then it struggles with Mono Fjord. Not a lot of that on ladder though, but still, it is a thing. And then like can struggle against dragons and stuff like that. So it definitely has its poor matchups, and I find myself very frustrated, not with the deck being good, but frustrated with what this deck being good has caused, other than the fact that it is completely wiping TLC out of the ladder. I'm loving that. I'm loving not facing TLC. And oh my god, I couldn't imagine, one, not having an actual good deck from this expansion. We haven't had a lot of actual, like, full-on new concept decks. So not like you add LeBlanc to Frostbite midrange and try to call that a new deck, considering that Frostbite midrange just with Ash Sejuani was already a thing. So not adding on to already existing archetypes, but a fresh, whole new strategy. That is what Azir Irelia presents. And yeah, I'm glad that we got something, but at the same time, obviously it is causing some issues. But yeah, it pushing TLC out of ladder is very fun, and I'm a huge fan of that right now. And obviously we could look at the deck directly, and if we're going to look at the deck, I would say that the easy things that, in my opinion, just feel a little too strong in this deck are, first and foremost, I would say probably Emperor's Deus. A lot of people are starting to get more vocal about this card being too good with Irelia, especially when you get Azir down. So yeah, I don't really know how they can do something. Maybe, I guess, make this cost one more, but then once again, my whole issue with just kind of doing anything to this card or Azir is just that then Azir is going to feel so much worse in decks that aren't this. But I guess it may be for the betterment of the entire game. But yeah, you probably have to do either something with Azir or Emperor's Deus, because Azir feels a lot better in my personal opinion, especially prior to getting leveled, a lot better than Irelia. And he's usually the one that causes more issues, I would say, especially as his tack just keeps increasing with every new follower that's summoned. So yeah, Azir feels like a handful right now, and especially with the support he gets from Emperor's Deus. I also really don't like, I don't know, I'm not a fan of these cards, this 4-drop coming down and then threatening 6 damage if Azir is also down. It just feels pretty bad to me, but it's not really this card, it's just the way that, like, I would like it if the Blades couldn't get the stat boost, like if the Sand Soldiers could, but if the Blades couldn't, from Inspiring Martial or from Azir, because I think leveled Azir gives the +1, right? Yeah, +1. When you summon an ally, give it +1. If Blades just could not get boosted stats, I feel like that would feel a lot better. If it could only be every other card and not Blades, that would help a lot, because you can't really continually just keep blocking the Blades, and then especially now that these lists are running Shapestone, and this is without even Shapestone. This is a list without Shapestone. And I think you should run Shapestone personally. I think it's a really good card in this deck list because it punishes just you trying to block. So yeah, that's my take there. That Shapestone's good. Yeah, you probably go one like less dancing droplets, and you definitely get a Shapestone in here somewhere. And I also think Inspiring Martial could probably use a slight nerf. This card at times even felt really good in Sand Scouts with Lucian and Azir, and it feels amazing now in this deck with Irelia Azir, and just with all the summoning that's going on. So maybe we could also do something about this card as well. That may help things feel better. I know some people have opinions that this card isn't that big of a deal in the deck, but data would show otherwise, that Inspiring Martial, when drawn, resulted in a pretty high win percentage for Azir Irelia. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something be done about this. But yeah, overall though, guys, and we can migrate over to the game now finally. Overall though, guys, when it comes to this deck, I really don't want to see them just hard nerf it or anything like that. I want them to consider just fixing the way it functions to where it's not just like pushing damage on its own defensive turns in the way it does, and more so that it can block more, so that it's not focused on such a kind of hard to compensate for strategy for a lot of decks, because yeah, it just comes down to, does your deck beat it before it attacking on your defensive turns matter, or can you get down a lifesteal unit that just nullifies everything? That's almost feels like what going later with this deck almost comes down to most of the time. And yeah, that just feels bad. We're in a very coin flippy meta, and I feel like a lot of people are becoming more and more vocal about that and not enjoying the ladder experience due to how like what this deck has done to ladder. It's made it to where it's either your deck beats this or it doesn't. And if it beats this, then it probably doesn't beat Thresh Nasus. And if it somehow also beats Thresh Nasus, then it definitely cannot also beat TLC or Target Invoke. So it's just, you can't really have answers for all that, and it really feels like the chance of winning to losing to Azir Irelia is just matchup dependent, and then same thing, and then based on those matchups, then you either have a bad or a good matchup against Thresh Nasus. So we're in a really weird spot right now, and once again, I'm glad that there is a new good deck. We do need that. New cards need to be good, but it's coming at the expense of a lot of other cards, like a lot of other champions, cards, strategies. They just can't be relevant. With this deck just throwing all that damage right in your face very early on into the game and saying deal with it. Just a lot of decks that can't actually deal with that. So it shall be quite interesting moving forward, and I'm not exactly sure what is planned what is planned as a solution to this at this moment. But I do think something needs to be done. I don't think a deck pushing 9 damage, 6 damage, the heaps of damage on its defensive turns is healthy. That's where I draw the line with this deck. Not it being good, not with everything leveling so quick, not with any of that. That's all really good, and we are starting to get some clear counter picks for this deck as well. So that's all fine. I just think that the way it functions is really making ladder a poor experience, and even more so, it is it's really restrictive on what we can do team building wise. So let's get this figured out. Let's get the Watcher nerfed, and then maybe we can have a meta that is kind of allowing for that creative team building or deck building. Oh my god, how many times am I gonna say team building? God, that's gonna allow that creative deck building that we all would want in this game and would prefer to have. So I think that pretty much covers Azir Irelia on my end. If you guys have any other thoughts or how you feel about this deck, I would definitely love to hear it. And yeah, I am. It shall be interesting to see how this deck performs. We do have the $1,000 Mastering Runeterra tournament this weekend. I am positive that players will be bringing it, so this should be a great weekend to get some added insight on how good this deck is, especially in tournament as opposed to ladder, where once again I think it shall be better on ladder than it should be in tournament format. But if people don't come prepared, maybe that'll be wrong. So we'll have to see. I'll see you guys in the next Hot Take Thursday. For now, peace out. Thanks for all the support as late, you guys. You guys rock. I'll see you in the next one.